set. But you know, I said,
Yeah.
you don't need to come for the first.
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Land Use Law Center.
Oh, okay, great.
Where's that at?
Hey, Bill, Bill.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, do you know so we have a guest who's coming around 7:20. And I just want to make sure they can get into the meeting. So I know you guys, you know, kind of turn our volume down so that you don't have to listen to the entire.
I just texted you my cell phone.
Oh, well, do you want to make one of us the host, and then
If I knew how, I'd be happy to.
we can let them in, and then we can also end the meeting, and you know, you don't have to come
I'm
back.
not 100% sure that were you in a waiting room when the meeting started?
I wasn't, because I got in.
Yeah, I don't think you have a waiting room.
Okay.
We don't.
Was anyone in the waiting room?
Yeah.
No, I've never been in a waiting room on this call.
Yeah, I was in a waiting room, sure. Yeah.
Today?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Oh, wait a
Before
minute, was I don't know, maybe I wasn't.
you may have been in a waiting room before Michelle started the meeting.
Yeah, that's what
So-
happened, sure.
So I just texted Alex. I just texted you my cell phone.
Okay.
You can text me, but at 7:20 I'll come back and just double check.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just, you know, they didn't need to.
But I'm pretty sure there's no waiting room, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'll leave the volume up too a little bit.
Okay. Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome. Have a good meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, who's here? 1, 2, 3. Who are missing? Aaron and Nick. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Richard.
Hello.
Hello.
Turn this volume up. Hi, have we begun or?
No, we'll have a few sort of procedural things to get through once we have a couple more people arrive, and then you're on.
Okay, sure. No worries.
Thank you.
We have a quorum if you want to call it.
Is it
Allison.
okay? Should we wait? I mean, it's 7:01, so I am calling this meeting of the Woodstock Environmental Commission to order. It is Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, 7:01 p.m. Present, we have Julia, Arlene, Robert, Erin, David, myself, Richard Countryman from Solar Generation is here as a guest. And Bill and Michelle from the town of Woodstock hosting.
And Laura.
And Laura, oh my God. Laura, I'm so sorry. I'm so used to seeing you. I didn't even, you just sit here. And Laura.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Julia.
Yes, God, sorry.
Alex.
Okay, did everyone get a chance to take a peek at the agenda?
Yeah, looks good. I propose to accept to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and did everyone get a chance to look over Robert's minutes?
Yeah, good.
They look good.
Propose to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, correspondence. The only thing that I have, Arlene, I got your ethics forms returned to me
Why?
because something wasn't signed or so you just want to come by at some point, or I'll hook up with you and we can just do that. Announcements, any announcements?
Today was the first day of the farmer's market. It was wonderful. There were a lot more vendors there than there'd been in the past. The sun was shining and it was great.
Nice.
Yes.
How's the parking lot working out?
Great.
It's great. It's really spacious and not having the cars kind of right where the market is was fantastic. Also, the tamales are bomb if anyone is into tamales.
Do they have tables and chairs, any place to sit?
Yes.
or-
Yep, they do.
And I think they're working on expanding that so that, you know, there were like 3 when I got there and they were filled, and they ended up adding some more, but
Nice.
yes. Okay, so, okay. Oh, here's Erin, hi. Okay, so we have a guest with us this evening, Richard Countryman from Solar Generation, hi.
Hello, everyone.
And I think he's going to talk to us a little bit about their program, and then we can ask him some questions and get a conversation started to see if there's something that, you know, we can potentially work on together for the town. So Richard, oh, sorry, Richard, do you have something that you need to like show on the screen?
No.
Okay, because we can't do that.
Okay, no worries. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Richard Countryman, and I am a sales representative for Solar Generation. I've been with the company for 5 years, and our company has been around for going on 18 years. And we started right in Woodstock. Now we're located on Route 28 between Woodstock and Kingston. But we've been servicing the Catskills and the Hudson Valley and mostly Woodstock for going on 18 years now. So it's my understanding that the Woodstock Environmental Commission would like to come to some kind of a plan to bring more residents of Woodstock solar or renewable energy options, of one of which might be a community solar array that the local residents of Woodstock and the businesses in Woodstock would have the priority to subscribe to the community solar farm before anybody else would be able to try to make it a tight-knit Woodstock solar farm per se. We have built quite a few solar farms already in the area. We've completed 2 in Saugerties, and we're under construction right now in Stone Ridge with our 3rd. And yeah, so I would love to see what we could possibly do with the town of Woodstock. I know one of the main constraints is finding a viable spot for it to go, where it won't be in the view shed of the town too much, and it won't take up any viable ground that could be used for something else. So it's a bit of an exploratory endeavor to find a place that would actually be suitable. And we're very excited to possibly participate in this endeavor, and we would love to work together.
Thanks, Richard. So I guess I mean, I think you guys all know why we've talked about this before, why Richard's here, but Laura, maybe this will help you a little bit too, but you remember that the people from Solstice reached out to us, and we had kind of gone through that, and we had sort of thought that we as the WEC should look into what some other options might be that could have potentially some similar things, potentially some other elements. You know, David for a long time has been pushing to get some solar arrays built here in Woodstock that can service the town amongst other people. And so we really wanted to talk to Richard about what potentially, you know, we could all work together to come up with to get as many people on renewables and on solar as possible in a way that most benefits also the community and the environment here. Because there are a lot of companies doing this right now, and we don't always love all of their tactics. So we want to make sure that we're working with someone also that, you know, obviously we agree with what they're, you know, kind of what they're doing. So I don't know, Richard, you and I had a conversation on the phone yesterday, and we discussed that maybe our dream scenario would be sort of getting like David's dream solar array, like in one of the parking lots or in the old landfill, and then having that available for people here, and then maybe also having a component of, you know, some kind of deal we could work on with people who wanted solar at their homes. Personally, we talked about having some kind of, like, how would you describe it? Sort of display array almost at the youth center.
More like kind of like a showcase, like a small solar array that can be very well executed and be an example of what people can do with their homes, and have some kind of an information plaque, maybe an interactive kind of like a digital QR code that you can scan and then see on your phone the different stats of how the system's been producing and what kind of an offset the production can attribute to, for like the offset of CO2 or how many gallons of fossil fuels the production has avoided being burnt or something like that. That's basically a showcase and an example of what a solar array would look like. And then something we could offer for the residents of the town of Woodstock would be some kind of a community bundle of like a certain sign up period, and say if we got X amount of people to sign up for solar to have an installation done at their home, then we can offer an exclusive pricing based on the amount of participants or something like that. And then of course there is the community solar aspect, which is it's free to join and it's free to leave, and it's a very easy way for people that either financially don't have the means of purchasing a solar system for their home, or they might have a location that is shaded or they just don't have enough roof space. So community solar gives everybody a way to participate in renewable energy without having to actually make a large investment.
Richard, is there something that you could tell us about? So the dream being, okay, we could do it here and offer it to people. Let's say that, could we talk a tiny bit about how that would look, and a bit about if that was not possible, what the community solar option might look like if it wasn't something that's built right here?
Sure. So our standard community solar offering that we offer would be a subscription model where you subscribe to a community solar array. As long as it's within the Central Hudson territory, then anybody in any town can subscribe that has a Central Hudson account. And the way that it works is it's basically a 1 penny per kilowatt hour savings on your electric bill. A lot of companies advertise it as 10%, and there is a 10% discount, but it's really convoluted how you get that 10%. The easiest way of looking at it, it's about a 1 penny per kilowatt hour savings. And the way it works is every month on your Central Hudson bill, you'll receive a credit for your solar allocation. And then you would receive a bill from the solar farm, which is 10% less than that credit you received on your Central Hudson bill. And that's where the 10% is derived from. So it's more of an accounting exercise than physically receiving the solar energy, but it is being injected into the grid, and it is relieving stress from the dirty power plants having to produce extra power to satisfy the needs of the area.
Richard?
Yeah.
Where is the solar coming from in that case? It's not coming from local, correct?
No, so all the solar farms that we have built are local,
Okay.
where the solar energy being produced gets put into Central Hudson's grid. Physically, the next person down the line from the solar farm, or the next X amount of people, would be receiving the direct energy produced by the solar array. But it is distributed into Central Hudson's distribution lines. But the way that it works for the end customer is it's more of an accrediting exercise.
Right. For
every kilowatt hour produced at the farm, it is then allocated out to the customer's accounts. So it is 100% always generated from solar power. We don't buy credits from any other company and then redistribute them or anything like that. Every credit that our customers would receive is generated from a solar farm in the Hudson Valley.
Wonderful. And How big, how big a property do you need to do one of these farms? Like the ones you've done?
So typically, like 4 to 5 acres is a good minimum threshold. Some smaller arrays can work, but there are certain limitations on minimum sizing for solar arrays set by the Public Service Commission. But typically, a 4 to 5 acre parcel would be suitable.
Okay, thank you.
Do you purchase
welcome.
those parcels, or how do you, if somebody said, hey, I got a spare 4 to 5 acres, you can use it for
Mhm.
solar, do you rent from the landowner, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's a variety of different financial situations. Sometimes we would purchase the land, sometimes we sign a 25-year lease. Or if the property is owned and say there's a building, we could lease the roof space. That's also a pretty common practice.
And then, Richard, you also spoke to me about some of the kind of setups. I mean, I know you guys, for some of you, this is like an old story because I know you guys have talked about this before in regards to the town of Woodstock. I was really happy to have you explain, Richard, why, like what some of the problems had been in that instance. You know, why it hadn't worked out in the past to be able to build the arrays and what some of the needs were besides just the land size, if we were considering, you know, an area. I don't know, could you
Sure.
potentially explain a bit about that? Sort of like
Yeah, so one of the main constraints on locating a solar farm would be access to 3-phase power lines, which is required to get the energy produced out to the grid. Central Hudson does have a grid map that shows all of the different feeder lines in the area. And currently in the Woodstock area, it's typically the best looking 3-phase power lines are to the east of the town along 212. The substation for Woodstock is located just south of the golf course on Birch Street or Birch Lane, whichever it is. And the 2 best feeder lines go to the east from there. Now, the Woodstock landfill, which I know had been mentioned previously, one of the main issues there is it doesn't have very good 3-phase power nearby. But on 212, where Glasgow Turnpike intersects, there is good 3-phase power down there. So that the landfill could be a potential site, but we would have to look at the economics of upgrading the 3-phase lines to meet the higher capacity lines. Also, I know that we had talked about doing solar in the parking lots before in the town of Woodstock, where one of the main constraints, I believe, was the price of steel at the time, which has increased since. So the economics of building large carports like that still it's a little tight. And then the other economic factor that I believe was an issue last time was the requirement of prevailing wage for all of the workers during the construction of the solar farm.
So Richard, how are other places getting around these things or dealing with them? Because I mean, obviously we're seeing that this does happen, right? I mean, it happened. So is it that they're not going through town? Like, how is it happening elsewhere where they're managing to do this?
Right. So the prevailing wage aspect is not always a requirement. And sometimes in the economics of the project in total, there can be a give and a take. So say, for example, if the labor aspect costs more than an average solar farm would take, perhaps there is a give in the like the land lease portion or something like that. Doing solar on landfills is a very common practice, and I don't know the economics of each project and what makes them actually prevail. However, we are certainly interested in taking another look at doing a project to see if we can make it work.
But from what I
David,
hear, oh, go ahead.
no. I mean, David always has a lot of questions in this regard. So I was just going to see if he had anything he wanted to ask, but Laura, please go ahead.
But well, I was just going to mention, so it sounds like if Woodstock wanted community solar, the Woodstockers could benefit even if the community solar was not in Woodstock.
That is correct. Yep, as long as the solar farm that is producing the power is within Central Hudson's load zone G, which is essentially the entire Hudson Valley, then it would be permissible to allocate credits to those customers in Woodstock.
I do have a few questions, Richard. If I
Sure.
Aaron, do you want to go first?
Hi, David.
Hi. So question number one is, how big are the two parking lots, the Rock City Road and the Mountain View? I mean, do they meet the acreage requirements?
I don't know offhand. I could measure on Google Earth.
Good, because I can't.
Yeah, if you want to give me a minute, I can take a look at that and then chime back in.
Okay, second question is, when
Sure.
you're looking at the landfill, are you looking at, as the crow flies, a transmission line going from the landfill to wherever you need to tie in on 212 in Glasgow? Or are you only looking at, as a car would drive, which means a lot of extra line?
Right, so as a car would drive, it's about 1.7 miles. As the crow flies, if you were to go directly to 212, it would be 3,500 feet. So, about three-quarters of a mile.
Something like that. Okay. All right, great. And lastly, have you, I mean, I see a lot of solar arrays going up in Saugerties, for example, and it looks like the town, as far as I know, the town is involved. Have they been able to deal with the prevailing wage question? I understand the cost of steel isn't going to change right away, but is that a question of to your knowledge, is the cost of steel a matter of the supply lines being so disrupted by the plague?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why the price of steel has gone up, but it has increased by about 200% since 2 years ago when we last looked at doing the carports. So I have an inkling that actually getting the carports into fruition is going to be a tough thing to do. I'm not sure about these other solar arrays in Saugerties. I know they are doing a landfill in Saugerties currently. Actually, I believe it's town of Catskill, excuse me, but it's between Saugerties and Catskill. The two solar farms that we have already built in Saugerties were on private land where we had a lease with the landowner.
And in those instances, you don't need to pay prevailing wage?
Correct.
Okay.
And Richard, if you do have a setup like that with a private landowner, is there still a way of offering shares to not to certain people? You know, if we wanted to say like citizens of Woodstock can have, you know, you had said maybe that while it's being built or X amount of time where we kind of encouraged them to sign up. Is that something that's also doable in a circumstance like that? Or is it really only if it were like on town property?
No, that's certainly still achievable. So in this case, if we wanted to offer this for Woodstock residences particularly, we could say there is a preliminary subscription period that is offered only to the town of Woodstock residences. As you mentioned, perhaps during the construction phase, we can say we have, 6 months to a year where the only people that would be able to sign up would be the Woodstock residences.
And is that something you have space for now if we wanted to do that with something that you already had that existed, or no?
We have one solar farm that we are currently subscribing that is under construction. I'm not sure how much of that farm has been subscribed already, but we could take a look at maybe something like that with one of our future projects. We are about to break ground on a 6.5 megawatt solar farm up in the town of New Baltimore, which is still in the Central Hudson load zone. And, that would be a question I would have to run by Paul, our owner, to offer any kind of exclusivity.
But certainly anyone who wants to sign up can just sign up.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
So
But
as
as
you,
for like an exclusive offering, that would, that's not exactly my choice to make there.
Hi,
So-
may I chime in here for a second? My name is Tokyo Damond. I am a solar farm local consumer on Glasgow
Hi.
Turnpike. Hi. I just, was curious to know if you, and I just posted it, the White House Biden proposal for grid infrastructure stimulus funds, low interest loans, other, I know it's not final yet, but I'm just wondering if you guys have been keeping an eye on what this would mean for towns like Woodstock, being able to take advantage of federal funds to build the grid, to basically pay for or lower the cost of that power line going from the Socrates station to 212.
I'd be happy to take a look at that. I'm not familiar with the article or the post that you just shared. And it disappeared from my screen. I'm not sure exactly where to pull that up again.
Go to
It's
chat.
on the chat. I
Chat,
posted
gotcha.
again.
Yep, whitehouse.gov.
I got it. Yeah. And
Okay.
so
Yeah,
that's,
I'll certainly give
that's
that a read
something-
when we're done with our call. Any kind of assistance from the government would certainly be a very, very good thing.
Right, I would suggest that what we would do is wait to see where those funds are going to be allocated, how they're going to be allocated, and they usually then are offered in a way that you guys can then turn it around and lower costs of infrastructure development for communities. So I would be anxiously waiting for that before before making any decision.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Erin, do you have a?
Yes, hi, this is Erin. So just
Hi, Erin.
throwing it out there, would it matter, talking about Woodstock residents, would it matter if this is their primary resident, if it's a rental property, or if the town was the owner of the property?
That
Okay,
would
so
not
that's all
matter.
considered.
Any residence, business, municipality, anybody can subscribe.
So I just wanted to make sure that I understood it correctly, like in a perfect scenario. So if, say, the town of Woodstock had 10 acres. You guys could do a solar array on that 10 acres. During the building of it, we could engage the public so they could see what's going on, and we could say, hey, if you want to subscribe, if that solar array is built, let's just say right on the village green, the people who subscribe in Woodstock would actually get the solar energy from there through Central Hudson. Is that correct?
Yeah,
No.
so they receive credits on their bill for the energy generated. There's no guarantee where the electrons flowing would actually go to. I mean,
Okay.
if it was built on the green, then it would be logical that anybody connected downstream from that immediately would be actually receiving the physical power being generated.
So is that because, so say you have like all the places around the green and say they subscribed, is that because the solar array works in such a way where it goes first to the subscribers and then the surplus goes to Central Hudson?
The way
No.
that it works is when there's a solar farm, there is a meter installed just for the farm. It's its own account, a commercial account, and the energy flows through that meter into the grid. Once
Okay.
it's in the grid with alternating current, it is rapidly dispersed amongst all the distribution lines. So it happens, very quickly, and it's not like as kilowatts are being generated, they're being dispersed to residences you can't really say where a kilowatt hour of energy goes. Once it's into the system, it's all kind of meshed into a big electrical circuit.
But Richard, you did explain to me that one way of guaranteeing that you are getting the energy that you are like looking at the solar panels is if it's at your home. Is that correct?
That is correct. So when you have a solar array on your roof, it will offset any loads that you are running directly before it goes back into the grid.
So you mentioned, hi, it's Arlene. You mentioned that there was a way of offering some kind of discount deal to the town for individual solar?
Yeah, so this would be something I would want to discuss with Paul, our owner, and come up with a decisive plan. But I feel very positively that if we had some kind of a package deal where multiple members of the Woodstock community were to sign up within a certain time frame, and then we can plan on doing all of those installations kind of as a group deal, I think that would certainly be a possibility.
And
offer exclusive pricing.
Would something like, so Richard, in the past, when we've had some of the community solar businesses, you know, approach us, they offer something to the town as sort of an incentive for the town, saying this is who you should, you know, go with.
Right.
And then the town gets to use those funds, you know, however they kind of see fit. So is there a similar thing that you guys do? I know you did say that you do something like that with personal solar at your home. Like if you get someone to install the arrays at their home.
Right.
There's some kind of like a finder fee or like kickback, but is there also something similar for your community solar that you guys are doing where, like, if we said, you know what, let's kind of go all in and we want to give people a community solar option and a home solar option.
Yeah.
Because obviously not everyone can do all of those things. Like what could we, is there some way that we could look at that where there would be a benefit also for the town for kind of like making that commitment and kind of sharing that with the residents?
Certainly. So for a solar installation where panels actually would go on your roof of your home, we offer a $300 referral fee for anybody, whether it be a previous customer who recommends a friend or just anybody who recommends somebody to us that does sign a contract. There's a $300 referral fee. So I am positive that that would be extended. You know, if we did this bundle program for actual solar installations. However, on the community solar side, I think we can definitely take a look at some kind of an incentive structure. I can't say anything off the top of my head that is like a steadfast rate that we could offer, but I'm sure we would be willing to offer some kind of an incentive to the town for bringing in customers. And yeah.
And potentially that could work in tandem with this sort of like showcase array at, let's say, the youth center.
Yeah, you know, for example, at the youth center, there could be contact information or something to say, you know, if you would like solar on your home, call this number or something like that, and mention the town of Woodstock. I'm not sure exactly how to incorporate it to the showcase array for a program that might only be running for X amount of time. For example, once the solar farm's fully subscribed, then you can't subscribe any more people to it. And I think if we were to take a look at doing a community bundle deal for actual installations, then that would also have some kind of a time frame to it. Yeah.
So
also,
you don't make your own
go ahead,
panels.
Laura.
You don't make your own panels or anything, right? So it sounds like you're not just a sales group because you have your own solar farms that your business actually owns or rents or whatever, right? So you're not just marketing somebody else's solar farms, you're developing your own solar farms and marketing those, and you are actually the contractor, or do the workers of your company, if I want solar on my house, are you contracting another company to put them on, or the workers work for your company?
No, we have our own install crews in-house. We have 2 install crews, and we build all of our own systems. When it comes to large solar farms, we do work with subcontractors for different aspects of the installation, but we still have all of our own installers out there on the farms as well.
And where do the panels come from? So you buy those from somebody else?
Yep, so our main distributor is up in Albany, and we offer a wide variety of different solar panels that are manufactured in the US, in Canada, in China, all over the world. So we're not really married to any particular solar panel brand.
Are they all kind of the same, or are the some? Because years ago, I was told if you had all these solar panels on your roof, if one solar panel wasn't getting sun, none of the solar panels would generate solar energy. And then some other brand said, oh, for us, it's, each panel that gets sun will generate energy, even if other panels aren't. So they're a new one. I mean, that's like a pretty big difference. So, I mean, I don't know whether all of your panels are similar or whether there's things to worry about like that, or.
Right. So people call that the Christmas light effect, where say if one panel was shaded or broken, then it would limit the rest of the panels. There's all different kinds of mitigation technology to avoid that these days. For roof mounts, we either use power optimizers or AC microinverters that mitigate that effect.
Okay.
I know it's not true of my array. My array gets shade increasingly throughout the day, and it continues to generate electricity. It goes down. The amount of electricity generated goes down as the number of panels that receive sunlight go down, which is sort of what you'd call logical, I guess. But Richard, isn't the question of the Christmas tree effect a question of how the panels are wired, whether they're in series or in parallel or something like that?
So it has more to do with the panel level power electronics, or module level power electronics. So if you were to have a DC power optimizer or a microinverter under each panel, then that would mitigate the Christmas light effect. David, on your ground mount, you have an SMA string inverter where it has series strings of panels that go into the inputs. And when you have a bunch of panels in a series without having panel level electronics, that's when you would get the Christmas light effect. And it's not necessarily brands of panels. However, the newest technology with panels is they're doing half-cut solar cells, and they have more circuits within the panel. So that does help mitigate shade loss to some degree. But on a system level, it has to do with whether or not each panel has its own power electronic that can mitigate that shade loss.
Yeah, I knew that.
And have the prices of batteries come down at all? Because I thought a battery used to be like $9,000, which is, so if you had solar at your house, if Central Hudson power is down, you're not getting power from your solar until Central Hudson comes back up, unless you have a battery. And at one point they were like $9,000.
Yeah, $9,000, would still be a great price for a battery. The most common battery that we sell is north of $20,000.
Wow.
So there are some out there for around $9,000. Prices haven't come down that much. They have shifted to the lithium ion technology, which is more expensive than the traditional lead acid style. And they are a lot more advantageous because you can actually discharge 90 to 100% of the battery capacity opposed to 50%. And the lithium ion batteries do not off gas. So they have a lot more advantages, but they are still quite pricey.
Yeah. 20,000. I could buy a car for that. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, there's new technology coming out that I can't say too much about yet because it's not on the market, but there is some new kinds of technology where you can utilize an electric vehicle's battery for your home during a power out situation. So I think that's going to be one of the next big developments in the renewable energy industry, because making solar panels has been perfected and they've been doing it for a long time, and energy storage is really the next chapter. And as we know, electric vehicles are the next chapter in vehicles. So merging home backup power with an electric vehicle by utilizing that battery for your home it's going to be a fantastic development in our industry. And just to give you a bit of a scale, our largest home battery, the one that's about $20,000, it's 18 kilowatt hours, where an electric vehicle's battery is 60 to 100 kilowatt hours.
Wow.
So much larger batteries. You know, if you're going to be buying an EV, it's a shame to have to also buy a battery for $20,000 when you have an enormous battery already.
Yeah,
Um,
cool. That's
yeah.
a good idea. That's forward thinking. That's an excellent idea.
Oh, it's very exciting.
Robert, have been talking with David about some of this solar stuff. Do you have anything you wanted to ask? Or not to put you on the spot?
No, I don't have any specific questions. I will say, Richard, you have helped me understand a lot of this. Actually, you've been very
Great.
clear and
My
concise.
pleasure.
It's helped me a lot. David, is there anything else you want to ask?
No, I think I've covered everything I had. And again, Richard, thank you very much. You've always been very helpful.
I have one more quick question. I
Welcome,
was
David.
late to the meeting because I was having problems with my Wi-Fi. The town is a consumer of electricity, correct, as a customer. Is there anything that I would think there would be nothing, but to answer, if you could answer the question about whether or not the town can simply subscribe to your solar farm as a client, and therefore Woodstock can therefore be generating its electricity through solar as a client without looking at the residents and incentives and packaging and for that.
Yeah, totally. As long as we have a solar farm that has enough room for X amount of accounts that are owned by the town of Woodstock to join into, that's entirely possible without any other kind of
But I would think that'd be a
facets or
quick
anything. Very straightforward.
win-win situation, right? I mean, the town is a pretty big consumer in the town of Woodstock of electricity.
Tokia, I'll jump in here for 1 second. I see everyone's faces lighting up. So the town itself technically is run on renewable energy already. So one of the things that we've been looking at is bringing it to individuals within the town. So businesses, people who live here. The only way to be able to merge those two things together, have the town as a customer dictate what kind of energy the residents get there is a way of doing it. It's called community choice aggregate. It's something that is happening in some of the towns around here. And it's basically where a town as a consumer makes a deal for everybody in the town with an energy company, and then people can choose to not participate in that. So that's one of the things that has been looked at. It's contentious and amongst some people for certain different reasons. But for our purposes at the moment, the main issue is trying to see how we can bring this to as many people as possible, because the town, the municipal operations are kind of already covered. They use renewable energy already. So I don't
was
think
too. I was a Green Mountain. I was a Green Mountain Energy consumer, and then I added the solar farm so that I was able to do both. So if the solar farm could produce a certain amount of credits for me in that particular month, I would get the solar credits, and what it couldn't produce, I was still getting it from the backup, which was the Green Mountain Energy solution. So right. we could tier it, and I just think if we're in the meeting with the solar energy farm, and Woodstock is a consumer of that, and we could dictate to, we could change contracts to add the contract to favor solar if we wanted to, and that make it more local, more local production, so to speak, right. Or stimulate it, right? And the other side of, right, Richard?
Yep, correct. And to add to that a little bit, were you finished with the?
Well, I just said there was 2 points. There was 2 points in Alex's last point.
Sure,
I just wanted to. The second point was the aggregating concept, and I thought when you mentioned that there could be a deal made where there could be a kickback to the town for bringing in 100, 200, 500 new contracts. We don't know what that's going to be, but that we could then repackage it and incentivize the community through our outreach that they get some kind of $100 or a $50 credit to sign on to the solar. So the town could take some of that savings perhaps, or that kickback, and then use it as an incentive to attract attention from the residents. I just
I like
thought of
that.
that. Those are my 2 points.
Interesting. Cool. And to add on to that a little bit, as for accounts that are not able to subscribe to the community solar farm, that would be if they already have solar on site. So for example, the highway department, we installed a solar array there many years back. They wouldn't be able to subscribe to a solar farm because they have on-site generation, as well as the police department. We didn't install that array, but we've worked on it a couple times, and they wouldn't be able to be subscribers either.
So Richard, what's the best next step with you guys? Because I think we should say thank you. I mean, this was great. You've explained this, I think, in a way that a lot of people haven't been able to also. So we really appreciate that. Yeah. So if we wanted to move forward into looking at what some of our options would be with you guys in a more practical manner, what would be the next step that we could work on? Would we have to get Paul involved into some of these discussions?
Definitely for certain aspects. I think it would be good to have him be part of the discussion. I'm sitting in for him mostly tonight because he's under the weather and wasn't able to attend. But he's definitely, he's the owner of the company, and he would certainly be a very important person to have as part of the conversation. I think for the next steps, I can share my email in the chat here, or I can send it out through the email invitation to this meeting that you sent. So that way, if anybody has other questions or would like to coordinate further on looking at a specific site, then they would have my contact information.
David and Robert, is that something that you guys can kind of continue your solar outreach and look into a bit?
I can.
So I
Thank you,
have a
David.
question. So would a possible next step be for, let's just say, if we decided to move forward with this, we would kind of identify a property and bring it to you guys, Richard, and say, hey, we're thinking of maybe these 3 properties. Can we discuss with you and get feedback as to what would work and why and what would work best?
Yeah, certainly. I have access to all different kinds of portals with Central Hudson's grid maps and various resources that we would need to explore these options further.
Okay.
So I would certainly be interested in looking at properties if we have anything that's a good fit.
Okay.
Also, as for just subscribing community solar people, subscribers, we don't actually need the land to be in Woodstock. So if we wanted to have a conversation, say we couldn't find a viable parcel, then we can take a look at our list of farms that we are currently building and see if we can offer some kind of an exclusive enrollment time for the Woodstock residences and how that would play out. And I'm sure Paul would be interested in, if we could say, Woodstock will likely have X amount of subscribers and the town is willing to help with their outreach to get people on board. We can still probably offer some kind of, a nice incentive package for getting these allocations.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And Richard, sorry, one more question, and then we will let you go.
Sure, no worries.
Is there someone in your organization, or would this come from our end? And if so, maybe is there a resource you could recommend to us, or if we did want to look into, is there some kind of grant funding? Is there some kind of tax break? Like, what are some of the things that the state government is offering, that the federal government is offering, that could help us kick off some of these programs? Do you guys have someone who looks into that stuff? Would that is there somewhere we should be looking to? Do you know that offhand?
Yeah, when it comes to the actual construction aspect, there are New York State grants offered through NYSERDA just for any kind of commercial solar project, and they do have a community solar adder which adds extra grant money for doing specifically community solar projects. There are tax credits involved as well. The current tax rate is 26%, which Biden might increase to 30% and extend for 10 years, which would be a huge benefit. Typically, the tax credits are factored into whoever is going to be the owning entity of the solar farm, and that is part of the whole economic structure of making everything happen. Yeah, and I'm going to read this article as soon as we get off that Tokia sent and see what might be coming down the pipeline there, and fingers crossed.
I think good things.
Yeah, it seemed, I mean, I'm
Yeah, thank you
hoping
for that.
too that there's going to be some push
Definitely.
coming soon that might help.
We-
That might
we
help
have
all
to.
of us.
Certainly, the new administration is very eco-friendly and environmentally conscious.
You should take advantage in case they're not the new administration for much longer. Richard, thank you so much. And we
You're very
will
welcome, Alex.
be in touch. And I think Robert and David certainly will also be in touch. They're sort of our
Great.
subgroup working on this issue. So we really appreciate your taking the time to be with us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody, and have a great meeting.
Have a good one.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Right.
Thank you.
Tiffany, hi.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for being so patient.
All good, all good. That was
So
a-
Tiffany, I will apologize for myself, and I'm sure for some of the rest of us. We really got this information very last minute. And I don't know how much of it we've had a chance to look over. So if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit about who you are, why you're here, and what you're looking for. And we're going to try to help you as much as we can. I'm not sure what we possibly can do, but we're gonna try.
No, all good, all good. So, first of all, good evening, everyone. My name's Tiffany Zazula. I'm with the Land Use Law Center. We're located at Pace Law School in White Plains, New York. I'm the deputy director there. And the reason I think I'm coming to you all tonight is our center, we provide technical assistance to municipalities throughout the Hudson Valley region on, of course, all things land use. I found the last conversation so fascinating and wonderful. But then on the flip end, we also are known for, and what we've been doing for the past 20 years now, is a training program called the Land Use Leadership Alliance Training Program. So that program is something that we are sort of known for. We conduct these probably 2 to 3 times a year. And this year, Emily Vale and I, who have collaborated in the past on applying to grants to DEC under their local stewardship grant program, we apply typically to get grant funding to run the program in specific watersheds across the Hudson Valley. And so, we've been partnered with DEC and have received funding probably now for about 15 years in various capacities. So we've done programs with the Sawmill River watershed, with the Wappingers watershed, with pretty much almost every watershed you could name. We've had leaders from for the past few years. This year, Emily wanted to focus in on the Roundout and the Esopus Creek watershed. And so we're applying for that grant right now. It's all written, it's sort of taken care of. And then we're looking for now is, of course, letters of support from the municipalities who would benefit from the program. So what I wanted to do is probably describe a little bit about the program and what people get themselves into when they sign up for one of the training programs, and then answer any questions about it. But
And Tiffany, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 sec, just so everyone has a bit more context. So this came to us from Maxan through the Woodstock Land Conservancy.
Okay.
And I know that she said, because I spoke to her today briefly, but there would also be they would be involved somehow if you guys were to be awarded the grant. So maybe you can also just touch on that while you're explaining.
Sure. So essentially at this point, I mean, we're at the initial stages of all of it, but let me explain the program and then I'll explain how everyone sort of gets involved in it. The program is 3 days in length, typically, with a 4th day that's sort of the next steps moment where we brainstorm what everyone's going to do when they go home from the training program. We've, of course, in 2020 had to do this virtually. We're hoping that we would do this program in the spring of 2022 in person somewhere in your backyard. So we'd have a location. Again, it's about 3 days. Now the 3 days take place over a 6-week period, meaning you come on a Friday, let's say, you take a week break and then you come back, and it's like a retreat. All the food is provided. There's a lot of networking time. And what we're hoping to do is it's not just, you know, we actually look very specifically at who we're recruiting for the program. We're looking, what we call them as champions of change, which are pretty much all of you, but are people who are looking to innovate in their community, looking at their land use regulations, looking at next steps of what sustainability means for your community. And so we select planning board members, you know, CAC members, zoning board members. If there's developers interested, we like to bring a little bit of everyone to the conversation from across the watershed. So you'll have neighboring municipalities and, again, another watershed in your group nominated to attend. So what happens typically is with our 2 watersheds that we're looking at, we would send letters of, you know, notification to all the chief elected officials. We tell them that the program's happening and offer them the ability to nominate people for the program. And then we send applications out to planning board chairs, the CAC chairs, to think through strategically who's the right team to put together from a community. Now, sometimes it's one person from a municipality because that's all that can offer their time. Our preference is to have at least 2 to 4 people from a municipality, creating a leadership team within the training program. And so all of us sit down together and are strategic for 3 days of the program. So not only are we delivering some, you know, best practices in land use and comprehensive planning and watershed protection, we're bringing practices from across the region that maybe, you know, places that you didn't know are doing something innovative for you to learn from. And then furthermore, what each municipality gets is also a gap analysis. So we go through and we take your comprehensive plan and your zoning code for your municipality. And I have my team of research students who go back and they're gonna take the zoning code and your comp plan and look at it in the eye of water protection and watershed protection, from water quality, wetlands protection, possibly what you do in terms of erosion protection, whatever it is. And we go through and sort of give you an assessment of what is in your code and what might possibly is not in your code, so that you have a better understanding of what is there and what's not there. So each municipality will get that. We take up about 40 participants total for the program. So when we go about this recruitment process, that's when we're sitting down internally and saying, let's make sure we have, you know, a CAC member, a planning board member. Does this community have a team? We vet that with us, with DEC, with Emily, and with others, right? The heads of some of the watershed groups to say, does this look right, right? Should we, this is where we're gonna have the conversations. And it's a great program. We teach both land use and the basics of land use. So we'll start at the very beginning of land use and understand everyone's powers and authorities and roles and responsibilities. And then we start kicking it up a notch and start to bring in some of the best practices of watershed protection or talk to the issues that you're directly faced with. Part of the program as well is to listen to everyone's issues and interests and to, again, tailor the program around the needs of the 40 participants in the room. So yes, we have a bit of an outline going into this, of course, after 20 years, but we also realize that this is your local municipalities. You have specific issues right now you're faced with, possibly solar, that we will pull in and make sure. And if we don't pull it into the training program, we have a wealth of resources to make sure to give to everyone. And then finally, I want to say the second part of the program, which we find to be very strategic, is about public participation and about consensus building and collaboration, and how do we make change happen in a community. So part of that goes back to the formation of leadership teams that now have some of these tools and techniques that even mediators use. You have your land use toolbox, you'll have your gap analysis, and then that day 4 of the program, we come back to really say, okay, what's our plan moving forward, and how can we all be of assistance in moving that next step? And it may be very low hanging fruit, which is fine, or it may be something that's like, hey, we can do this as a watershed. We want to do this, right? Intermunicipally, we want to do something, or it could be your own baby step at home of what you'd like to do and accomplish. There's about, shockingly, 4,000 leaders from across the Hudson Valley that have taken this program. And it's been transferred nationally to other states. It's a lot of fun. It's not boring. I know that sometimes when I talk about land use, people run from me, but I feel like I'm among friends here. Like it's good stuff. And we tell jokes and we pass out candy, and it's a retreat together where we are working on implementation on something strategic for you to go home with. So it's a little bit of everything. So in terms of partnerships and things like that, so Emily, probably, I wish I could speak better to how everyone is participating in the program. So many of the people we're in touch with right now might participate as presenters. They might be participating in nominating people for the program, and then just sort of being a part of the program during the 4 days, so that they are helping to not only share information, but then assist later on, give technical assistance later on in the program. So hopefully, and I don't know, Julia, I hate to put you on the spot, but are you a program graduate? I don't know why, but your name looks so familiar. Okay, it's okay.
So Tiffany, I know like part of what Maxan, like I said, so we really have not had a lot of time to look through. It's been like one day. So I know part of what Maxan had kind of asked about when she was trying to connect all of us was getting a letter from some of the municipalities of support.
Yep.
The issue we had come up against was that the due date was like the 28th, I think. Right. Which didn't allow any more time for the town board to get the letter and have it voted on, because there are no more town board meetings before that date. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like the letter is in support of the program, so you can for the grant application, can that be from an entity like ourselves that's not a town?
Yes. So the letter of support is, you can tailor it the way you'd like. We'll send it, of course, and then you can strike any part you don't really like. But yes, so certainly your group could sign a letter of support for the program. And what you're doing is showing, yes, we're going to attend. We'd like to represent, have a representative or two from, the town of Woodstock, and we support this program. And if it gets funded, we'll work with them to find the right people from Woodstock to basically come to the program. So even if at the end of the day, the town board can't sign just because of timing, yeah, we're looking for letters from pretty much everybody and anyone, just showing that we're going to be able to bring 40 people in a room together. I think that's really what DEC wants to know, is that they've got the leaders ready to take this on.
But so beyond the letter, there would be some element of commitment of time on our part, is that correct?
So if you want, that's the part, if you want to strike that part, right, which hopefully you don't want to, because I'm hoping someone from this group would be able to attend. I think it would be it's again, like I said, I think a lot of communities go home and have really a great set of tools and have learned a lot of some of the basics that are, to some all of a sudden is shocking news of who has some of that power and authority in their municipality, and then where everyone plays that role. But if you feel like that's too strong of a language and no one wants to commit, then it's saying like, we'd like this program and, you know, we think it should happen for this watershed, and we're supportive of that. That's about it. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So Julia or David or Laura or Ken, someone is going to know this better than I do. This is also our last meeting of the month. So obviously we haven't taken a look at a letter or looked at any language of a letter. I mean, I'm assuming we would have to vote on whether we want. Does anyone know what the rules
Yeah,
there would
I
be?
think we need to decide that we're going to sign that letter. And I did circulate it earlier today, so I hope someone had a chance to look at it. Did you? It's pretty straightforward. And I just thought it would be something that we would want to get behind for sure. I hoped.
But Julia, just in terms of logistics, would we just do that now and then work on the wording?
Yeah.
After the fact, or do we
We've done
have
that before, haven't we?
I'm sorry?
We've done that before, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We would vote as a group that this is something that we want to have, we want to submit a letter ourselves. Alex, it would be your signature as chair. And I think we could, if you had a chance to look at the letter earlier, that was sent earlier, we could change it a little bit, but I think it's, I think we could pretty much send that letter, if that's okay, Tiffany. No, just use the.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, use the template. I mean, that's what it, most of the communities just do
Right,
that.
okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to give you the option, certainly, to tailor it to whatever you do. or
And
do
maybe
not
the
want.
Woodstock Planning Conservancy could send their own letter. Well, let's hope that Max can send a letter as well. It would be good.
Erin?
I just wanted to say that I've said this before, I'm not a fan of us voting on things that have been presented like same day and being rushed. However, I think Tiffany did a really good job of explaining this, also knowing that it comes from Maxan and the Land Conservancy is partaking in it. I would feel comfortable with voting on it tonight and sending the letter, which I know usually I'm like stop. So I just wanted to say it does. I mean, Tiffany, I feel like she did a good job of explaining it. So I would be all for moving forward.
And the letter's pretty harmless as far as, it's fine.
Yeah, I do two questions. So what is the time frame? So this 3 to 4 day session, do you have in mind a time frame of when it would be?
So typically we wait until the spring so people can get to the location and not have to deal with snow days and makeup days. So we will probably recruitment for the program, like first letters will start going out, assuming we are awarded this funding in January.
Mm-hmm.
In February, we start to essentially figure out who the 40 people are from across the watersheds and make sure that seems right. And then by April, beginning of April, the program will start. And again, and I want to mention it's a full day program. So it's about from 9 to 3:34, depending on how, active everybody is or how burnt out they get by the end of the day. But it's 9:30 or 9 to 3:34. And typically everyone goes home with a full binder that you fill every day. And I just want to mention, I didn't say this before, and this is important that I want to make sure I say this, is that the program, when you go through it, we aren't there to tell you what to do. Like every municipality is very unique in how they're going to handle the land use choices for their own community and what tools and techniques are best for them. And so when we come in, it's a very neutral process, right? We are educators, we're all professors at the law school. And so what we're going to, showcase to you is simply give you the framework and give you the variety of tools that are in the toolbox. And it's for you all to begin to select which tool is right, and then which one is going to be right for the citizens of your community as well, right? What can we get buy-in for and begin to move forward with? And so it's definitely not, I don't want to say like we're not an advocacy organization, we're educators. And I think that's important because land use is so personal to every municipality and the direction they're going to go. So.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I think you said something about White Plains. So the education, the session would take place in White Plains, so people would need to travel to White Plains?
No, we will find a facility up by you. So,
Okay.
yeah, so it'll be in your
Okay.
backyard. Yeah.
Okay. And then by signing the letter, and the letter looks harmless to me too, but I just want to make sure I have a full understanding. So by signing the letter, what this committee would be saying would be, well, we do sign up for that. Education is always good. We're not yet proposing the people to go, but are we committing any number of people with this letter? We're not committing any number of people either.
No.
You don't have to. Correct. Exactly.
Okay. And is there any, I see there's a grant in there. So is this, for each person that goes, is anybody on the hook to pay money, or the grant is covering the cost?
It covers the full cost of each person, including all the food and material, everything. So it's free of charge to everyone who signs up, or again, applies, and then we work through. If we get it's rare that happens, that I get 60 applications and I'm cutting 20 people from the program. That's so it's really just making sure the 40 is a good representation. And the other thing is the letter of support also provides me, and I think provides DEC as well. It's like, you all are the first people we're going to turn to for that, of saying, this is open to you. This is a program that, you all assisted us with, and, work to find the right leadership team from your municipality, or the one person who's going to bring it all home and train everybody as well.
Okay. And the other question is, if the WEC signs the letter saying they support this program and that they will be looking for participants in the program, do the participants have to be from the WEC itself, or can it be anybody the WEC wants to propose, even if they're not actually in the WEC?
Correct. I think some of the greatest stories I've had are when communities or a committee actually goes to a citizen who's maybe not involved yet and says, here, let's go through this, come through this program with me. And then you end up with someone else on your committee, or another volunteer, or maybe someone moves to planning board and tries that out for a while. So yes, it could be a public, it could be a citizen that is not currently on your committee.
Funny you should say that, Tiffany, because we have a few citizens here tonight who might be interested in participating more in the community. And just so you guys are aware for timing, so the CEA training, which we are doing, it will end in November of 2021. And so this starts in spring 2022. So there is some arrest, there's no overlap of trying to cram all of these things in at once if we want to do that. So I feel comfortable taking a vote on this. Should we? All right, so everyone.
I'm not sure I'm a voter, but I just have one question. When you guys are talking about land use, what are we talking about municipally owned land, or are we talking about an alliance between citizens, and Land Conservancy is not a municipal landowner? What are we talking about? I mean, how broad do the solutions come out of these meetings?
It's everything. So it's not just municipally owned land, but it's also thinking through, so essentially looking at your community zoning, right? Which is in the hands of your municipal leaders. So your town board, right, has decided to keep or has changed the zoning of where people have residential, some communities don't even have zoning. So they decide that. They make those decisions of where industrial uses, mixed uses, where you're growing, where you're deciding not to grow. So what we talk about is all of that power and authority that the town board has, right? Where the citizens get involved in that. The land use decision-making process, when a property owner comes in and says, I want to do X with my property, or a developer says, I want to do X with my property, what does that trigger? What are the things, who are the players that are involved in that, especially when that developer or property owner says, and I want to change what my underlying zoning is to accomplish something different. And so how do we navigate that situation, right? Is it always, do we always say yes to that? Should we always say yes to that? Whose power is in the, again, so it's everything. It's landowners' property we're talking about, municipally owned property. And then furthermore, it's the connections between you and your neighboring municipality when you are sharing borders, right? How do your land use choices affect them? And especially given a watershed, when you're doing certain actions on your watershed, how does it affect all the neighboring municipalities? And why should you be connected in your land use decisions more regionally potentially? And so how do we set up those conversations if we're going to act that way? So it's a little bit of everything, including, again, like I said, we could talk about, I mean, it is a watershed program, but we could talk about solar and best practices in solar, and we can talk about housing, and it's a little bit of all of it, affordable housing, you name it.
Okay,
That's
so
excellent.
I think it's an incredibly current, necessary
Agreed.
right now.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
well,
Sounds like-
we're gonna have to wait, Arlene, until spring of 2022.
Arlene, you can be the first to put your name down on when I send that
Oh, well, let's
application.
see. I'm just retiring. I'm not doing anything yet.
Arlene, you can
Okay.
nominate someone else then that you think
Yeah.
should be there.
Okay, let's. All right, everyone in favor of the WEC submitting a letter of support for the, what should we call it? The
Land Use Leadership Alliance, right?
Thank you, Julie.
It's
New
named lovingly as Lula, so in
Lula,
case you want to shorten it.
Leadership Alliance, on behalf of us as a group, who's in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You got your letter. We're in, Tiffany.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I think this
Thank
is going
you.
to be
This
great.
sounds great.
Yeah, it does.
What's the
lot of
food like?
You remember, do you all know, well, it was funny because when I knew we were going to be in this area, Main Course, and I think they're still
Sure.
there, they used to cater for us, and it's very nice. Yeah, so it's honestly, guys, it's really a lot of fun, and it's exciting, and it's you won't be bored. That's the good news. I promise you that. Let's just hope, as long as we're not virtual. I mean, I've had to do these virtually, but in person, it's where it's a great time to meet new people and things like that.
So
So
one more
Okay.
question, Tiffany. How many people could come from Woodstock? How many people? 4, a maximum of 4?
you know what, I don't want to say a maximum yet, but like because let's say some of the other municipalities only send one person
I
for
see.
some reason.
Right.
I've taken, some communities have brought, their team of 6 people, 7 people, and they're going home with like their work plan for the year. But so we'll sort of see how that goes. But I would say probably to be safe, 2 to 4 would be, it's gonna be great.
Okay, so Tiffany, we will take a look at that because, like we said, unfortunately, not all of us have had the time to fully go over it, but we'll get it ready and we will have it to you definitely by your deadline, but I'm sure before.
Perfect. Thank you all. Thank you. And I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you in the program in the spring. So, and any questions, feel free to, reach out to us. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, so moving on to the 10 Church Road
Wow. Erin, I was so impressed.
issue. Not everyone was at the town board meeting last evening.
Arlene, you were there?
No.
Oh,
But I know, Erin, there has been a lot of interest in hearing the update and how it's been progressing and how it went. So we are going to turn the floor over to you.
well, thank you. I actually sent out to all of you, I put together a timeline to kind of really get a good visual, like, wow, this has been going on now for like 16 months. So if you look at the timeline, it's a good visual. The other thing is, I mean, I've done a lot of research on it. The other thing that I sent out is I kind of listed the process from A to B. Okay, here's the process as it should have happened according to the town, the town code and the town rules and the process, the standard operating procedure. And here's where it looks like it broke down. And I thought that was really interesting because there were several breakdowns. There was definitely a common denominator in departments where there continually was a breakdown in the process. But I think it was important to note that the process broke down on a lot of aspects. I think it's a really good example of, I think we're a small town with big town problems now. And I think it just really needs to be addressed. I've been really pushing hard, as some of you know, as a representative of the WAC, also as a private citizen. I've been really pushing it, trying to keep it on the radar of the town board and the supervisor. And I know that's really all we can do, but I'll keep doing it. Although at this point, I feel like I might be, just, I don't know what else we can do really as an environmental commission.
And Aaron, do you want to let everyone know, because where is it right now in terms of progress, right? The trial starts next week?
Yeah, it's not a trial. So as of right now, so the Ellen submitted the charges in February of this year. So in February, she submitted the charges to the town of Woodstock court. Jason, who's one of the judges, had to recuse because he's my husband, but also because Bill filled out a deposition and is an actual party to the suit now. And Bill signs the judge's paycheck. So that's a conflict. He had to recuse for both myself and Bill. The other judge who could have heard it had to recuse because of Bill's deposition. So then that kind of delayed it a little bit. So it actually is going to, it is in Shandaken Court on the 25th, I believe, which is a Tuesday of this month. They're going to have they're going to put in a plea. So there's no trial start, like we're just in the baby steps still. A plea will be entered, and then the ball starts of, negotiations between the John McGovern, who is an assistant district attorney, is prosecuting it for the town. So he will be going to Shandaken on behalf of Woodstock and prosecuting it with the information that Ellen has given him. And then the charges are against Vincent, his wife, and they also did charge Carolus. So they will have to defend themselves. They will have to enter a plea and then go from there. That's where it's at now. There's still a lot of back and forth. Like I'm saying one thing, Bill's saying another, the town board is asking questions. There's still a lot of that, which is very frustrating at this point, that nobody can really seem to agree on what's happened. And the neighbors are really caught in the middle, and they're just frustrated. The neighbors have retained an attorney, which I think was the smartest move for them. So they're moving forward with that. Any questions?
I have actually been involved in this too, and I'm not sure if I had the opportunity to provide the evidence that I have, but I tracked the trucks and recorded their movements. So I have actual video footage proving license plates, traffic, truck identities, locations where they were going. And
Tokia, can you give me your email and so we can get in touch after this? Thank you.
Tokia@me.com.
Tokia@me.
Yeah. They would go up and down Glasgow Turnpike right in front of me and got me pretty upset. So I did a lot of tracking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the more evidence, the better. So that sounds wonderful.
Right.
So Aaron, you'll take that in and get it to where it should go, or
yes.
Yeah, that's the more evidence, the better. Fabulous.
So Aaron, I have an annoying question to ask you. And so, I don't know, I want you to feel free to not answer it because it's annoying.
Okay.
So one of the things that came up, there was some contentiousness, I would say, in the meeting last evening. And one of the things that came up and that I then have heard further about today, was that there seems to be some claim that there's a discrepancy between, some of the information that you provided and what in this packet, and like the truth.
Yeah.
And I guess that my questions are, what are the intentions that we have with this information? And what do we think about that? Because I think that from what I've seen, what you've presented is really just factual, like, here are the dates and here are the things that happened. And obviously there's been some pushback against that. And without, obviously we don't want this to turn into like a thing of like, we said that, they said that, and it gets kind of off track from like the shared goal of just getting this stuff out of the ground and making sure it doesn't happen anymore. So I guess that's not even a question.
No,
but
I think I know what, I think I can make a question out of that. Like, what's the point?
And do we, like, what, do we think that there should be an ongoing conversation about this? If there could be, do we want to pursue it? Like, how do we envision this going forward?
That is actually a really good question, Alex. So the point is, why are we still talking about it, right? So one thing that I brought up last night, which I'll mention to you, was I actually went back and found the mission statement for the Environmental Commission. And I'm going to read some of it. It says it was the Environmental Commission was formed to define those areas of the environment that require protection and so advise the town board when action is needed. And that's what we've done. This is it could be a textbook case of why I think the Environmental Commission has been founded. We should have been notified earlier, but we weren't. That's one thing that I was trying to bring notice to the town board. That's something where the process dropped. We should have been notified sooner. But ultimately we have made a recommendation. That was back in October when we worked on that resolution, and the town board did 3-2 vote. They did adopt that. Unfortunately, they're not doing anything. So that's kind of goes to what I was saying earlier, where I don't know what else we can do. We could continue to make recommendations, but I don't know. There's so much pushback from Bill. I still can't get a reading from the town board. Laura, you're on this meeting and I know you've been on the calls. I've had 2 members actually make that, 2.5 members from the town board reach out to me after last night saying that they still wanted us to, Richard Hepner actually asked us to get a quote on the testing of the soil. So I said I would have to come back to this meeting, and if you guys are okay with that, I would move forward with that. Do we still want to, in essence, help them and provide that, which I actually already did send an email today to get it. But at this point, like I've really been villainized in this, and I gave the packet to the town board, which was all the information I got from the town and I got from emails. So in giving that packet and circulating it, I was trying to say, look, this is based on an email conversation and here it is. This is based on the charges filed. Here they are. This is based on eyewitness documents, which is in there, texts and emails from neighbors going to the town board. So I don't know, and maybe we should have that discussion, how much more effort we want to spend on this, because I do feel like it's falling on deaf ears.
Can I go?
Sure.
So, I mean, two sides. One is I understand the feeling, and I also understand. I can't say I know how the neighbors feel because I'm not one of the neighbors, and I can only imagine how horribly they feel and how angry they are because it has been going on for a long time. When you say, well, the town board's not doing anything, the town board does have an attorney and really get going, but the town board does have an attorney involved. There is a court case, as you mentioned. Shandaken is going to be accepting the plea come Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. So the town definitely wants this. The town is waiting for, because the town views it as, if it's zoning law, then it's our zoning enforcement officer. If it's not a zoning law, then we have to go through the courts to take action, which is the position Bill has taken. And Richard brought up a good question last night, which is, well, when you do have the interest of the town in, when you have the interest in the town in front of you, maybe there is something as a supervisor you can do. even though the court hasn't taken action yet, maybe there is some action you can take. That was a really good point that Richard had. So, maybe, and Bill said he would look into that. What is his latitude? So I know Bill has been feeling like he does not have the latitude to walk on private property without the courts saying, yes, we're behind you and you can do that. And Bill very clearly has a vision of resolving this, because once the court finds in favor of the town, then the town has the legal authority to go on private property and start fixing the problem. So I know that Bill is trying to, and I know it's taken forever, and nobody's happy with it because it has taken forever, and the least happy are the neighbors because it's awful. But I would say that Bill does have a plan, and you can argue that it's taken too long, and you'd be right, it has taken too long. But Bill does have a plan, and Bill does want to get it resolved. So, I really like exactly what Alex said a minute ago, the shared goal. We all do want to get the stuff out of the ground, and we all do want to ensure it never happens again. And to me, I'm a go forward person. And to me, that's where we are now. I'm not sure the value. Well, part of the value of pointing out mistakes is if we can learn from them, that's a good thing. So where do we go from here? I think it's a really good point of, it's in the courts are hearing this now. So that's happening. How can we help them win? I like Tokia. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your first name correctly, but if you've got more evidence to help the case, if we can get that in, the main thing in my view is winning the case. And then the town agrees they can take action, and then they will take action, and we want to do that.
So thank you for weighing in on that, Laura, but I think here's the frustration. Everything that you just said is what's up for debate. Bill has been saying that the town does not have the power to resolve this, and he's waiting on the court. I've pointed out time and time again, it clearly states in the town code that Ellen actually has the authority to go in and remedy it. It actually says to take action. That I also know that this whole court case, which Bill and I guess yourself are waiting on, the courts are not going to, they can't provide injunctive relief. And what that means is charges have been filed against this property owner. There's a monetary value on that. The court is going to find him guilty or not guilty. If he finds him guilty, that's it. Guilty, pay the fines. And the town of Woodstock simply gets a piece of paper. They're not going to get anything different from a judge or a court of Shandaken that says, dear town of Woodstock, you can now enforce your laws. That's the frustration. Bill is saying he's waiting on the courts. You just said that Bill has a vision for resolving this. You just said it because it depends on whether it's the zoning law and whether or not we can go through with it. What you're saying is what I've been trying to say, and it's really frustrating. You, the town board, and Bill are interpreting the town zoning code incorrectly. And what you're doing is throwing your hands up in the air going, we can't do anything. And actually, you guys are the only ones who can do something. You have the authority to enforce the municipal laws in the town. Ulster County can't do it, which is why when Bill reached out to Ulster County and the DEC, the New York State, you know what they said? We don't enforce town laws, towns do. So it's frustrating because who's the source of truth? I'm saying, again, that you guys are mistaken waiting for this court case. There's no Judge Judy. It's not going to be like that. He's going to be found guilty. He's going to get fined. That's it. And we're going to be right back where we started again. And then you guys are going to say, well, we don't know if we can do it. According to the zoning code and the solid waste code and the authority of the building inspector, you can and you have all along. I would ask you, the town board, to please go to Rod Futterfast, the attorney who is on retainer, and ask him, please interpret this law. Is Aaron right or not? And maybe I'm wrong.
Can the WEC, can we vote on that in the sense, say that we as a
No.
WEC would request the town to ask their judge whether they have the power?
We can recommend, somebody else here help me, but I think all we can do is recommend.
So can you tell me of the laws, of the zoning laws, which all begin with 260? what I think I heard you say is there was a zoning law violation of the laws that begin with 260. Can you tell me which law I should be looking at?
I can, and I gave that to you in your packet yesterday, Monday. You
Well,
have the papers in your hand.
Yeah,
I know it's thick. Show everyone on this call. It's thick. Laura,
Yeah.
I will sit down with you and show you exactly the law. It is 32, I don't know them off the top of my head, but I've given you copies of the law. You have them
okay.
literally in your hand.
And I've been flipping through it. I didn't read every word yet because it is pretty thick, but I have been flipping through it. So, I mean, that's kind of the question, because that's where I know Bill had the concern, because if there's a law broken that starts with 260, that is zoning law, that's clearly Ellen. If there's a law outside of that, he does believe before he can walk on somebody's property, he has to have a judge agree that he can walk on somebody's property.
Yeah, no.
And you're saying ask Rod Futterfast to say, is that true?
Please,
Please
ask Rod Futterfast, please.
Yeah.
Ellen, Erin, did you send us, members of the commission, a copy of the stuff you sent to the town board members?
No, because it's pretty thick. Laura, you can show it again. It's a book, but what I sent you was the top 2 pages of it. I do have a copy. I can send it. My printer, I'm waiting on more ink, but
Can you just email it to us?
it's not, I don't have electronic. I can't, I mean, it would be an email of like 20 meg with, I would have to combine all, it took a lot of work to put it together. I could email it. It would take a couple days to get it together. It's some of the stuff I only have hard copies of.
Erin, do you want to make one copy?
I'll make a copy of the
And
master.
Circulated. I mean, I can even scan it on my phone and.
Yeah.
I have a computer. I have a scanner. I can scan it. I'll be glad to scan it and send it around. Erin, if you and I could just talk offline about how we can hook up, get together, meet.
Definitely.
You know, I do have to say what I also appreciated for what you did, Erin, is it showed some gaps in how things have been happening in the town. And I do believe it was the building department, and the building department should have been more proactive. I am still very nervous. I don't know about you, Rob. I'd like to hear from you about what is the engineering study?
Well,
because
there hasn't been
I
one.
still don't know.
There hasn't been one.
Because it's like they dug holes. I mean, that's all I'm seeing. And that scares the hell out of me. Yeah. After what we did when we were there and the crap that we saw coming out of that hill, I just can't believe they haven't done anything like that.
Yeah.
So I do think that it is a learning thing, that it's good that you did it, because, I mean, actually having Tiffany speak just before, these are environmental issues that maybe should change zoning. If we can't do this, then we better change zoning.
Bingo.
Because this is pretty bad.
Bingo.
And what I mentioned to Erin last night, I'll say it again.
I just want to congratulate Erin for the terrific job collecting all this information and putting together a paper trail. And it's really a lot of work, and I think she did a terrific job doing that. And I hope she continues collecting, because there's probably more out there that you haven't got.
Thank you. Well, apparently Utopia.
Erin, I think what you said last night about having some real changes to the law made not by, I mean, listen, we all work really hard. But we're not experts. I think that you had a really valid point that we need to have some experts involved who can make meaningful changes to the laws. And maybe that's where we go from here, is advocating for that as part of, seeing this to completion. Laura, you're going to get the brunt of this because you're the town board member who's here. I'm sorry. I think helping Richard and getting the quotes and all the estimates and all that stuff is great. I have never been so angry in my life as I was last night in the town board meeting when, and I'm going to try to be really kind about this. But Bill didn't want to let Erin speak at all on this subject, because I know there's some dispute about what some of the facts are, or some of the things in the packet have some unpopular connotations. And I don't understand how, if you guys are asking us to ever be looking into things or following up on things or putting this work into things, how someone could turn around and then say, sorry, no, you have no right to speak about this. And everything that we're even talking about right now, like, why are we doing all of this and spending our time on this? And like, Erin is one of the most passionate people that I know when it comes to these issues. Like, everyone here is so passionate, and they only are advocating for, you know, no one's taking sides of like, we want to make this person look bad or we want to make this person look good. They're just advocating to make this town safer and better, and to make the environment in this town safer and better. And I just thought, I went to bed and I was like in a blind rage after that. And I did send an email to Bill, and he's probably listening right now. It was very kind, I think. But I wanted to make sure that that was, you know, communicated in writing. But if we're going forward with these things, I don't think that that is an option, that someone from this group would be treated like that, or that this whole group would be treated like that, because why are we putting this work in if that's what the outcome is?
Okay. Well, if you recall last night, and I don't want to speak for what Bill was thinking when he did that. However, if you recall last night, I am the person that spoke up and said, you know, there are some comments in the chat, because Erin said she wanted to speak, and Alex, you said so as well. I'm the one that said there's some comments in the chat. And when it was brought up, you know, to make sure that Bill looked at them, and then when it's brought up about Erin speaking, I don't know if Reggie was first or if I was first, but I clearly spoke out and said, I want to hear what Erin says.
Yeah, sorry, Laura, I know, that's why I was apologizing for directing at you, just because you're here, and I'm not saying it's your fault at all. Like, you definitely did do that. But I think somehow it needs to be communicated that, like, if we're doing these things and we're being asked to do these things, and Erin's saying, you know, there are still people asking her questions and like they want our help with these things, like, that it needs to be known that even if the answer that we come up with is something that maybe sheds light on an uncomfortable truth, that it still needs to be heard, even if it's just heard so that someone else can dispute it.
Yeah, but you heard me support that last night. You heard me vocally.
Yes.
So you heard me, and I am always, and I value Erin's passion. I value the passion of this committee. I try often when I'm here to remind you how much I appreciate you, because there is so much value that you bring, and I certainly see it. So I think in general it's seen, and I believe at town board meetings, I do try to, I try to share. Again, I was supportive last night. So, I mean, I can only be responsible for my own behavior. I can't be responsible for everybody else's behavior. I value what this entire group does, and I backed Erin last night, and I wanted to hear what she had to say, and I thought it was appropriate. So I do know, because people hadn't had a chance to crawl through all the information, that may have been why Bill hesitated, but I can't really speak for Bill. But I will say I wanted to hear, and I appreciate the passion of everybody here. And one last thing, I know Robert wants to go, but I also said last night, and I'll say it again, that if there are zoning, you know, right now the zoning revision committee, which I am chairing, is right now focused on housing, right? We've already focused on 5G and telecommunications. We have that law going through the process. We focused on water protection, which was really taking a law that was already put together that Ken was very involved with, and saying, okay, let's resurrect that and get that through the process. We got that through the process. We're 100% focused on housing right now. We have a list of stuff to still work on, and housing is the hottest item right now. So that probably will not get bumped, you know, in priority. That's the hottest topic right now that I expect to stay the hottest priority until we've got that under our belt and moving forward. But whatever else the WEC wants us to work on as a zoning revision committee, I'm all ears. I want to fold in. We want to be thinking about whatever it is that you do want. So as far as zoning, and should we change the zoning law? I want to hear what you all have to say about that, because even though we're doing housing right now, we'll be, we haven't decided yet what is our top priority after housing, and ideas you all have might be the next thing we work on. So I'm very open to your zoning revision ideas that will help the environment.
Yeah, Laura, maybe you can just, when you're chatting with your friends on the town board, like, let people know if they're asking us for things, then they have to stand up and be supportive when we're telling them, what the answer is, even if they don't want to hear it. So, like, if Richard wants this answer, we're happy to give it to him. But then if it's something they don't want to hear, they still have to hear it.
So actually, I just want to ask the commission, is everyone okay with me getting a quote for soil testing? Does anyone have, sorry?
Yes.
Oh, and I've actually talked to Bob. Bob has really helped me a lot on this, by the way. He's kind of like the quiet, he's the brains behind it. But I actually have been going to him when it comes to, and I said, he sent me a spreadsheet a while ago, and I checked it with Bob because I feel like Bob is a subject matter expert because he does this in his 9 to 5. So he looked at the spreadsheet and said, okay, here's what you need to test for. So I also should tell you guys that, sorry.
Yeah, you had a quote of something I saw in your packet that you gave. You did have a page that there was $400 for some set of testing.
Water test. Yeah, water test.
So you did
I
have.
don't have any, does anyone have a problem with you getting a quote for soil testing? I don't. I do not have a problem. Go ahead as far as I'm concerned. Alex, Bob, Julia, Arlene, anyone got a problem with me
I'm
going ahead?
perfectly
We can
fine with
end
it.
this discussion,
Okay.
and I can
just
have
wanna
my
make sure.
Chateau Margaux.
Okay, great. Thanks.
No, thank you.
So what I will just say one thing, since we're all here, whatever, talking about it, but tomorrow, the Hudson Valley One has an article, and they basically just rehashed the fighting between, it comes across as fighting between Bill and I. And some people, I guess you can see it on the internet if you're a subscriber now. And some people have in the community have reached out and sent me, oh, you did a great job. But it really disappointed me because I feel like the article, all it did was, was
Talk about the fight.
replay this fight, right? And it just, the whole thing, the whole issue got lost, and I was really, really disappointed. So I'm not looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, you can't tell the press what to do, unfortunately.
No.
It would be nice if they
Just wanna
sent
say-
something who understood like the basics of human communication though, but.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. I know it's
Yeah.
getting late. I'll make it quick. I got involved in this. I just helped Erin a little bit. She did the lion's share of the work. So I got involved back whenever it was, October in the fall. And Erin and I worked to put together the sort of technical requirements and all the science geeky stuff that ended up in the resolution that the town passed. And the irony of this whole thing is that what we proposed was really in the town's best interest. So for whatever reason, without pointing fingers, it really has fallen apart, and it's disappointing to me. I just want to put that out there on the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Does anyone feel, I know Laura, in the past, you have suggested that we invite people from the town board to one of our meetings. Does anyone feel like this might be a prudent time to do that?
I don't, because it's just going to end up, I think, too supercharged.
I agree.
I think it'll lead to more Hudson Valley One headlines.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be productive.
Well, the one thing is they don't come to this meeting.
Oh, the press, you mean? I think the frustration is, and Laura, please take this back to the town board. The town board has the authority to act. Please start acting. Like Bill has kind of been driving this. Bill has been saying, oh, this is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. But, you guys are elected. He's not the mayor. He says, you guys are there. You have authority. Please start exercising it. I mean, when that resolution was passed, it was passed 3-2. It wasn't unanimous. So, just start. And I know you guys are busy. I know a lot of you have full-time jobs. I know it. But just start.
Aaron, may I ask a question? If you're correct that the town has authority to do what? To remediate? To do what?
The building inspector has the authority to first off go in and see if there's a violation and issue a violation, which she did. Then there's a process. Then she can issue a stop work order, which she did, which was great. Then the stop work order was lifted. Don't know why. It's the $1 million question. Why was it lifted? She was not given the information she requested. She was supposed to get an engineer's plan, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is the building inspector, according to the town code, there's supposed to be a separation between the supervisor and the building inspector. And actually, if I understand it correctly, the town board oversees the building inspector. So the town board holds Ellen responsible. And that hasn't been happening.
So we don't know why Ellen lifted the
Nope, $1 million question. I've
and
asked
so
it 100
does that
times.
mean that the dumping is continuing?
It did for a short while and then it stopped because he finished putting a whole 1,000 cubic yards of dirt there.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm hoping to do what Aaron recommended, which is ask Rob Futterfast's opinion, see if we can do that. Because I do know, again, the building inspector, the zoning enforcement officer is focused on zoning, which is the 260 laws. And again, and this is where Aaron and I are, or Aaron and Bill are just, disagreements happen to be because, Ellen's jurisdiction is a zoning enforcement officer. She has jurisdiction over laws that start with 260. And our disagreement is what jurisdiction does who have if a law is not a 260 law, which means it's not a zoning law, but it's a law being broken, the correct process. I know Aaron has one idea. Bill has another idea.
So can we
attorneys,
just find that information out from this lawyer so that we don't, that will,
right.
like it'll just put an end to a lot of this sniping.
And the question is, if Ellen doesn't have the authority over as a building inspector, then who does?
Well,
right.
yeah.
Right.
So we'll
Ellen,
get some
but
other.
It's not. Sorry.
We'll try to get additional opinions on that. Anyway, so we know where the disagreements are, and I'm not sure who will be the final say that is the overriding, breaking the tie in terms of, who's got the authority. But it's worth a couple more questions.
Laura, can you look into that for us, please? We would really appreciate that, because I think that turning this into like an Aaron versus Bill,
I'm over it.
Fest is just doesn't benefit anybody, and it shouldn't be that they're the faces of this disagreement. It should be we're all trying to figure out the best way forward.
Yeah.
So
we had the last panel, the last guest, wasn't she a lawyer about land use rights and zoning, et cetera, et cetera? Why wouldn't we just say, hey, we have this exact example right here. Can you give us your 2 cents?
Well, it's town law. It's town law.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Alex, is yes, I will take that as a to-do. I made 1 million notes. You see me looking down to the side because I'm making notes, but I will take that as a to-do and see if we can get some, and I always like to say, where was it written, right? Not just whose opinion he said, she said, or she said, whatever, but where is it written? If we can get some where is it written answer, it would be.
And Laura, I'll be more than happy to after, the meeting tomorrow, this weekend, I've actually reached out to all the town board members. If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to show you in the packets that I gave you where exactly where the law is. I've copied it and it's in there, so.
Yeah, okay, well, let me, I've been.
It is a lot,
but
it is a lot.
Bob, I don't know if there's any of this that applies to some of the information that you helped gather, but potentially, if there were some further conversations, do you think you might be able to join in on some of them at some point to potentially diffuse some of this so that we see that I don't like it being staged as this, everyone's mad at Aaron and Aaron fighting back. I don't know.
This Aaron Bill fight, it has nothing to do with Bill. It has nothing to do, it has to do with the town. It's become personal and it shouldn't.
So
Alex, if I can just interject here. I think we've gnawed this bone to death.
Yeah.
And I have a personal interest in moving on and getting to my
I
steak
know
and
you're,
Sacramento.
you're talking
So
about
could-
bones.
so-
You're
I knew it had to
hungry.
do with food.
All right, I agree. We'll go. The next, everything else is going to be quick. So the critical environmental areas, we got selected for the training. If anyone is on that group and hasn't responded yet to the poll of like when your availability is,
Responded.
please do that.
Funded.
I did have a conversation with Maxanne today, like I said, kind of briefly and off the cuff, but you know, I think that there is something to be said for really pushing for some zoning, for some new zoning laws as well. So,
Yay, yay.
well,
We'll do it.
Laura, you know, I think it would be great, and I don't know how you want to do this, and I'll defer to you because it's your group, but if you would like to have some members of your group come to one of our meetings one day, or if you would like some of us to come to one of your meetings, but maybe there's a time we can get a few people together and have a more specific conversation about this than just kind of.
Well, do you have like a list of ideas you're focused on?
Well, I think in terms of the critical environmental areas, you know, there was some discussion about taking it a step further into something that can be regulated, like a conservation overlay district or something of the like. And how we would go about using the information that we get from the CEA training and making it into some town law.
Actions.
Yeah, that can be enforced. I know Peter feels pretty strongly about that as well, because they feel like their hands are tied in a lot of these instances where they want to do something, but they can't. So maybe we can speak at some point and try to arrange a time, Laura, where some of the zoning, your committee and our group can try to have some speaking time.
Okay. I guess what I will say is, since we are fully focused on housing, it wouldn't get a deep dive until after the housing we have our arms around it and we got it kind of moving. So we wouldn't have a deep dive for a while. I mean, we can have a conversation whenever, but I don't want to, I need to properly set expectations that the deep dive would happen later.
I think that's fine. I think just so you have some awareness of the training and how it might affect that group. So one of the things that the critical environmental areas training is going to do is we're going to identify areas that need special protections. But one of the other things that it can also do is help identify areas where development might be encouraged. So, so if you are, I know you are working on, you know, you guys are deep in it with the housing right now, but some of this is going to have to do with where might we want to put more housing? Where might be the areas that can take a denser development, or you know, so that we can protect other areas. So
well, there you go. And in that case, it actually should be sooner rather than later, because if it's gonna, since we are focused on housing, a big question is where. So that sooner rather than later would be a good idea. So let me know who would want to attend, and you know, how would I describe the topics being covered? I know you just described it there, but would it be you and Maxanne, or who would the attendees be?
It could be. I'll we can feel it out if anyone wants to join, or if you guys want to come here, or if we want to have a separate thing. I'll send you an email, Laura.
Okay.
If you'll.
Does it make sense, Laura, to have one of your team join this training series?
That would be
discussion,
great.
ongoing discussion.
So the CEA, and so when does that start, and how many sessions is it, and how is that?
June through November, and pretty much once a month.
And how many hours per week or a month is it?
She said about 2
hours a month, 4 sessions over a period of 6 months.
Hours a month. 2 hours per month. You said 4 sessions, but 6 months. So I lost you somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's not every month. They must take like a break. There must be account for holidays, but over a
Oh,
period
okay.
of,
So
over a
there's two-
period of 6 months, you'll meet 4 times.
It's June
oh.
to November, Laura.
Okay. I can ask if there's, yeah. I know how busy everybody on my committee is, so that's the issue. That's why that's why I'm hesitating, but
It
let
looks
me
like the
give
first
that-
meeting will be June 1st, which is Tuesday, I believe,
okay.
5:30 to 6:30. That's the
And
one
Laura,
date that,
just so you know, there are some people from this group, Peter and Judy from the planning board,
great.
Maxanne, and Maria Elena.
Wow, cool.
So, you know, it is a lot of busy people who are giving up a little bit of time to
Right.
try to do this. And I think it's a pretty well-rounded group. So
Peter, Judy, Max, Anne Marie, Elena, who from the WEC?
myself, Erin, Arlene, and Julia. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I didn't get the June 1st thing.
you didn't, but I looked at the doodle poll and that looks like the one date that everybody can do.
It's good to
Peter
know.
only had one date, I think, or 2 dates that he could do.
First week I'm retired.
Yay. So Julia, I believe I'm available. Can I go to one? I don't know if I can commit to all meetings, but can I go to one
Yeah,
meeting?
the kickoff session, I think, would be the one. That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, would you send me information?
Sure, as soon as we get it. It hasn't been confirmed when that first meeting would be, but when it is, absolutely.
But
That'll
I am
be great,
available.
Laura.
I am available June 1st, and it sounds like, I can ask my committee, but it would be helpful if I could be there. So
That'll be
thanks.
wonderful, yeah.
Thank you.
We love it when you party with us, Laura.
You guys are fun partiers. You guys are really good.
It's
All right.
technically not a meeting yet, Alex. You know why? Technically, this is not a meeting yet.
Oh, because I didn't say fuck yet? I'm trying to be on good behavior. The
Yeah.
boss is listening in.
The meeting.
All right.
Okay.
The Youth Center Energy Audit. So we found out why we didn't get the grant. It's just a bit of paperwork. We need to have Bill sign a letter of commitment on behalf of the town board. I've sent it to him. I'm hoping we'll get it maybe after the next town board meeting, if they can get it on the agenda, and then we will be good to go. So Bob, if you want to at some point send out your list of people to call.
Didn't I send that to everybody?
You did.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Alex, get it
Yep.
together, man.
Yep.
Huh? When did you send it?
I thought I did. I sent it with.
You did send it.
No, I believe
3
you.
days ago.
I just want to see why
I'll
I
send
didn't
it
see
again.
it.
I mean, just briefly, what I did was I looked at NYSERDA's list. I selected some providers that had done other projects in the area. I did call one, but they didn't call me back, so I dropped them off the list. I didn't call the others. You know, the bottom line is they're all going to offer free audits. You know, as Ken has said, it's the follow-on work is what they'll want and they'll sell it. So we have a list. I made it about 6 of them. I thought that was plenty. There are plenty.
There were actually 4
4.
on the list, right?
4 on the list.
Yep, I'm looking at it.
I did drop a few off. If I couldn't find
Right.
projects, I dropped a few off.
Mm.
We certainly can add more if we want. So that's how I came up with the list briefly.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you. I will take a look at it. Okay, Nick's not here this evening, so the brochure not happening. The farmers market. So we kind of discussed we're going to be there July 31st.
I know. No, that's the date of it's the
July
21st.
21st.
Yeah.
If anyone had any thoughts, and this can be an email conversation too, we don't need to do it in the meetings, about something we might want to communicate at that event, and just so we can start thinking about if we need to have any visual, any aids, like what we want to have there, because some of that will take a little bit of time.
Maybe we could ask people to interpret the town zoning laws. I had to get that in there.
Yeah, we could have a raffle, you know, the one who gets the closest interpretation to the law wins some landfill.
Some compost.
Compost, okay. Great,
You can-
handled, next. So we're gonna send you, everyone's gonna email you their ideas, Alex? Is that the way we're doing it?
I'm happy to do it like that if we want to do it like that. Yep.
Well, you're the farm
Yeah.
market person.
Yeah, I'm in charge of the farm. I set it up.
David, your blood sugar is dropping, I can tell.
I know.
No, my
All right.
alcohol level is dropping
Okay.
precipitously.
All right, so we have one piece of new business, which is sort of old business also, town offices and town landscaping. So last week, I did go up to the town offices and I had sat down with Bill, and we had actually a very good conversation about the town office renovation project and some of the things that we've been talking about doing for the town, and, you know, the grant and the energy audit and just a whole bunch of stuff. And he was really excited about it. So he asked for a couple of things from us a bit more specifically. One is I communicated that we thought it would be nice if included in the town office renovation was some kind of a plan to make the building as sustainable as possible, to kind of follow up physically with some of the ideals that we're trying to say that this town embodies, so that it will actually be an embodiment of that. And obviously it's much easier to do a lot of those things when you're doing a renovation than with a building that just exists. And anything, I know a lot of the stuff is already happening there, like the heating system and things like that. So anything from how it's gonna, you know, electric, is it gonna follow the stretch codes? Is it gonna do whatever, to the landscaping? And he asked us if we would provide a letter with some specific recommendations for what we think should be done at the town offices that he could communicate to the town board so that they kind of know where we're coming from. And then the second question he had asked me was, and it was actually a pretty good one. There are some areas by the town offices and actually in other places, like he mentioned, by in the cemetery in some spots, where they would love to have landscaping that doesn't require like mowing, for example, or like a lot of watering, or some places where they don't need to mow. Could there be like a meadow that's more environmentally friendly, like a pollinator, you know, like how can we upgrade some of the landscaping in town to be more cost, you know, obviously it's more cost effective if you're not mowing, if you're using less stuff, but also to look nice and to kind of reflect some of these values. So on the 16th at this meeting, I have someone who is a member of the Pollinator Pathway, Dell, who I think, Julia, you know, right? Didn't he come to your house?
Yes.
And he's gonna come talk to us about some of the options that there might be for, you know, rethinking some of the landscaping in town.
So wait, this is another thought, which is like really out there, but
yeah,
when this, I know they had like the old, talk about this, the old geezers or something that helped out with the sidewalks. This group of guys that volunteered to help out working on the sidewalks, so that it didn't cost that much for the town.
Are you talking about the geezers?
The geezer corps.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's talking about the geezer corps.
Yeah. And basically, if we were going to do pollinator gardens, there are so many gardeners in this town. This would be a great volunteer possibility.
And I don't know, Arlene, if you guys are aware, but we also partner with the Pollinator Pathway.
You do, I know you do, but it's like,
no, I don't. We do.
I know, but I'm just saying, wouldn't it be great just to put it out there for volunteers?
Yeah, but I think, you know, I think one of the things that would be not, obviously because they're like our partner organization.
Them do it.
is if, no, not for them to do, they aren't a group of gardeners. They're a group of people who have like ideas about how other people might garden. So to maybe involve some of their knowledge a bit so that maybe they can have a plaque up or something and then have the gardeners.
I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying that goes to the work part.
Yeah. No, volunteers, all volunteers.
Exactly.
All right, Alex, it's 9:07.
All right.
So,
So that is just a piece of homework that we need to come up with some specific stuff that we want to share with Bill about what we would like to see in the town office renovation. So think about it. We can email about it. I'll let you guys go. Thanks for hanging in there, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Before you go, I have a couple of announcements.
Oh,
Yeah,
No.
great. Well, you know,
Ken, there is an announcement time at the beginning.
yeah, it's the
you know.
beginning. Hasta la vista, baby.
Well, David can go because he's not interested in this stuff, but I sent out a note about our reduction in the carbon footprint for our electrical supply. Every year the EPA does a measure of all the power plants in the area, and they issue what the carbon content is. And our carbon content has dropped in 2019 when the last data has dropped by about 10%. And we're now the lowest in the country.
Wow.
What?
Right.
Wow.
That was really great.
And over the, since 2011, even though the town's electrical usage has gone up 30%, our actual carbon footprint from electricity has gone down by 50%. So that's
Wow.
a real good example.
That's all you're doing, right, Ken?
What's that?
That's all you're doing, isn't it?
No, I'm just keeping track of what's happening.
We'll credit you.
All right, that's good. The other thing that's happening is on Wednesday, Evelyn Wright is giving a presentation to the Ulster County Environmental Management Council about the Ulster County Green New Deal. Part of the Green New Deal is the county has a package of community solar offerings that you can subscribe to. So that, since we had a great hour-long conversation about community solar, you may want to join that meeting to understand what the county's offerings are, because they have.
What was the date again, Ken? Date again?
Yeah, you got the email on it.
Okay.
It's Wednesday. And
a week from today.
yes, a week from today, because today is Wednesday, and next Wednesday would be a week away.
Right.
But you have the, I sent out the Climate Smart report, and on the back page of that is the information about the meeting, although it doesn't really talk about the Green New Deal, but part of that is community solar. And so since, the committee is really interested in that, it'd be interesting. You probably want to understand what the county is offering.
Very cool.
And by Friday, we should get the results from the Climate Smart people about our last submission, and we'll see what sort of cheap shots they take at us this time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. All right, 9/11, I'm officially calling it. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone. See you in a couple of weeks.
Good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill, for hosting.
Great work, Aaron.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You got your back, Jack.
Thank you.
I look forward to your email, Aaron.
I will. I put you in my phone, and I look forward to your video.
Good. Videos.
Don't be so hard on Nick.
Multiple days.
Remember, he doesn't understand any of this stuff. All he can do is describe what happens.
Who?
Nick Henderson, the reporter.
I know. But the way my name is mentioned so much, it just felt weird writing so many things that I said. I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't like it. It's just weird.
I don't know why people read that stuff anymore. You can look at it on YouTube if you're interested in it.
Well, you can't, but anyway. All right. Good night.
So Michelle's put in the chat, can she end the meeting? She's asking if she can end the meeting.
So we're going till 1 a.m.
Yeah, but
I'll say can end now. Is that okay? Oh, let me get to the right spot here.
Can I end, Laura?
Oh, yeah, yes, you can. I was about to put
Okay.
them in the chat. You can end now. Thank
Excellent.
you so much.
Thank you. Have a good
Okay.
night.
You too. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.